Hello everybody, welcome back. In today's lesson, we are going to do an acrylic painting. It's going to be a beginner's acrylic painting of a simple seascape. So before I usually paint, I like to do a drawing of my idea. And this is the idea that I am planning to paint. So this is just a basic drawing that I did with oil pastels just to know where everything would go in my painting. And let's see how I'm going to do this on my canvas now. I have a 9 by 12 canvas and I have taped it on the sides with a blue painter's tape. And I have some basic colors, basic acrylic paint colors, and the brushes that I have are I have a round brush, a flat brush, and the most important thing, I need a fan brush to paint my palm tree. So let's get started. So step one, I'm going to do a light underdrawing of the painting that I'm going to do. I'm going to start with a horizon line. Far off land. And then there is this far off boardwalk. Okay, and that's my simple underdrawing. Okay, so I'm going to start painting from the sky. For the sky, I'm going to use a light blue, white, titanium white, and a little gray for some clouds. And also, while you are painting, be aware of what's going to come next, because you can see that there is a tree and this is going to be filled with leaves. So you don't have to work so hard on this area because it's going to get covered. So I'm gonna keep it simple blue over here, and then when you're drawing the clouds and all, if you're gonna draw here, it's not gonna show once you do the tree. So it's better if you're going to put clouds and all, put it on the side where you have that space that's gonna show your hard work. So I have my brush, it's slightly wet, just cleaned it, and then I'm gonna start putting my paint. Painting in little strokes. more blue. I'm going to add some clouds. So the gray I have is a little too dark, so I'm just going to add some white on top of it. First I'm just drawing my clouds. Add a bit of white. There you go. Now I'm just going to clean my brush a little, and then I'm going back to my light blue. Looks like it had some gray left. I want the sky to get lighter as I come down, so I'm going to add a bit of white with my blue. So yeah, I think I am good with the sky for now. Next I'm going to paint the land on the horizon, and I'm using an emerald green for that. And I'll start here. So I'm using a round brush. If you prefer, you can also use a thin brush if that's more helpful. This is going to be a thin area, and I'm going to increase the thickness slightly now. I want to add a bit of a texture, so I'm going in small dotted strokes. I'm going to change to my flat brush. First draw the line. There's not a lot of paint, and it's okay if you have some gaps at this point, because I also always prefer adding one more color to make it look more natural. So this time I'm gonna add some deep green. I'm doing this before the other color dries so that it has a little blended effect. Filling these little areas. Okay, so that's my horizon. Next, I'm going to start working on the water. And I'll be using a flat brush for the water. And I have a couple of blues that I would like to use. I'm gonna use a phthalo, a turquoise, and a regular light blue, and some white. I'm gonna start with my phthalo blue. I'm doing a very thin area. And I'll maybe a little bit more. You can see that there is not much paint over here right now. So I'm just going to add a little bit more paint. And I have my turquoise ready. And I'm going to blend it quickly with the other color here. I'm not going to wait for it to dry off because I'm going on top of the boardwalk that I drew, and it's okay. It's a blended look now, and then I'm going to add more turquoise. The strokes are all going left to right. I'm not going sideways. And I mention this because a lot of times when we have these wiggly lines, people tend to go sideways. That's like an automatic reaction. So these are like beginner mistakes, so that's why I mention it. So make sure that you are doing straight horizontal lines when you're painting it. Okay, now I'm gonna go with my light blue. And I'm going in between these spaces that I had left before. It's going to create a blended look. I'm going to add some lines. These are not very thin. I don't want it to look like worms. So it's more like a waterline or waves. I'm gonna add some more turquoise lines in between. That's like a thick amount of paint. I'm kind of pasting it on, so when it dries it's gonna kind of, if you touch it, it's going to bump out. Next I'm gonna mix my blue, the light blue, with a bit of white as well. I'm going back to my phthalo blue and I'll add some I'm going to paste some phthalo blue lines. And then I will also get some white, and then with the white on my flat brush I'm going to paste it right over that blue line. There you go. So now that I have my water, I'm done with it for now. I'm going to go and do my sandy area. So for the sand, I'm going to use these two colors. It's an unbleached titanium. It's like a off-white or cream color, and then I'm also using yellow ochre deep. So I'll start with the lighter titanium, just picking it up directly on my brush, applying it lightly. I'm not waiting for it to dry. I'm going to create a blended look, so I'm just going to add in on top of that a little bit of ochre. And I'm using my brush very lightly. I don't want a real smooth look. I will need to have a little bit of texture. So since yellow ochre is the darker color, if you use too much of it, it's kind of gonna dominate. So make sure that when you're picking colors, you keep in mind that. and pick very little paint. Keep working on it. It's mostly titanium, unbleached titanium white, titanium, and adding a bit of ochre here and there. Now under the rocks I want to create a shadow, so I'm going to use a bit of the darker color, the ochre. Just like this, and then yeah, so for now I'm gonna just filling in the gaps first a little bit. Okay, so next I will paint the tree trunk. So I'm going to be using burnt sienna beginning, and I am actually mixing it with water, or my brush is a little wet because I want to paint it very light for now. So I'm gonna make it a little more wet. I'm carefully dragging it down to create the shape. Adding a bit more paint as I come down, I'm going to make it a little darker. So the next color I'm going to be adding is a burnt umber. Same burnt umber, I'm going to create a rounded look. Even though it's very subtle right now, I'm still going to go and do those rounded rings that you see in these trees. There you go. Okay, I'm adding a bit of more shadow under the rocks here. we can work on it more after. Okay, so next I will do my rocks. For the rock, I'm going to be using black, Mars black and gray, and maybe if the gray turns out too dark, we might use white. So let's see. So I'm going to start with the gray, and important thing is my brush is dry here. If it is wet, it creates a smooth look, which is not an ideal look for a rock. So make sure that your brush is dry. So I have some paint picked up, not a lot again, and I'm doing this, I'm kind of poking and painting. And if you see the holes, that is something that I wouldn't want. I don't want to color it all smooth. That was a little bit too much paint, which then I did draw a little rock here, so I'm just gonna put in that here slightly. Maybe another one can be here. Okay, so now I'm going to go with my black. So right now it looks like a big blob, so I need to create some separation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this area a little darker at the bottom. Again, not too much paint. So you can see that this is one rock and there's gonna be another one over here. And then I'm gonna go do a third rock by creating an edge over here. So there. I think I will go ahead and add a little bit more gray on top of it. And then I'll lighten some parts by picking up a pinch of white, very less. And then I want to create a blended look, so make sure that you don't pick a lot, but just a bit. That's too much white. So I'm going to add a bit of gray. Lighten that. And going back with my black. add in some more textures. Using my gray to work on this particular rock. I'm just adding it on the top parts. So there is a couple of rocks there. These are far off ones. I'm not gonna add too many details on this. There you go. Next I am gonna work on the waves. And the water that comes to the side of the beach. So I'll use a flat brush, a dry flat brush, and some white paint for that. So I have a flat brush, dry flat brush, and some white, and I'm gonna pick up some paint right here on the edge, directly from the tube, and then I'll just go slight dots, come inside, outside, inside, and then we can just go and add slightly. Maybe I'll bring this part inside, right close to the rocks over here. Okay, and then you also add some just under the, if you prefer a thinner brush you could go for that. I'm adding some froth around the rocks. Okay, and then maybe I can go back to my tallow glue a little bit. There you go. And next I think I'm going to draw the far off boardwalk. Maybe I'm gonna actually first go and draw the leaves, and then maybe I'll draw the boardwalk at the very end. Leaves I am going to use deep green and sap green, and for using the fan brush I always prefer putting it on the palette. I do have a messy palette, but anyways I'm gonna just put it like a line, and then with my brush this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just pick up a little bit of paint like this. It's not too much, and then I'll go and draw the lines first. For now, I'm just going to draw these many lines, and after working on them, depending on the space, I might add more. So again, when the paint is not there, I'm going to pick, and then think about the direction that the leaves are going to be and move your brush accordingly. So this goes slightly up, so it is too much paint, so I'm just going to reduce. And again, I'll go paint on the other direction. Same way, this one is gonna go down. If you have picked more paint, make sure that you take it off before you start doing this, otherwise it's just going to be a blob. You won't see those subtle lines on that. A bit more. There. They're going to come down. It's important that you start from this line and then go out, because you want it thinner on the edges. If you do the opposite, there will be more paint on the outside of the leaves, which is not what you want. Okay, I feel like I'm gonna be adding at least one more over here. I'm just gonna go do it directly. Need to pick some more paint. Okay, and then it goes this way. Then maybe I'm gonna add another one like here, coming down. Okay, so that's just my first color, so I'm gonna add a bit of sap green here and there to make it look more interesting. So I'm just going to use a smaller brush, a flat brush, and then looks like the sap green is still too dark, so I'm gonna go with my light green, so which is this color. Using some of my flat brush, and the paint is very less and picked up on the sides only. There, very less paint. I'm not doing it throughout also, just here and there. I think I need to darken the lines a little bit there. Here. That's it. I'm just adding a little bit, finishing touch, fixing this part a bit. Now I forgot to do one leaf, so I'm gonna go do that one. So there's my tree. Just fixing these. And I'm actually going to add a bit of brown, very less, not a lot, using the same brown. Going back with my green. There. So now I have my tree. Next I am going to add a bit of shadow under the rocks. I'm using my burnt sienna. Oops, my brush broke. Just going to create it. Adding a bit of burnt umber as well. And then I do have to remove this brown that came. Just that's good. Then adding some more yellow ochre deep. Again, I'm going to add a little bit of white here. Okay, that's done, and I'm going to add the boardwalk now. So for the boardwalk, you can either use a brush, or if you have a black acrylic paint marker, that works the best because it's much easier to draw and you don't need a thin brush also. So this is my black acrylic paint marker, and I'm gonna go start over here. You can see it a bit from here. And then the boardwalk is going to stretch out a bit. Next, I'm using my Tallow Blue and dry brush to a bit of finishing. And then maybe also a little bit of white. There you go. And there we have our painting. But before we finish, I think we could add some ridge lines over here as well with a dry brush. So I'm going to use a dry flat brush, and I'm going to use my burnt umber. It's a dark brown, and then give some texture on that. So using my burnt umber, it's again, I'm pasting a thick layer of paint. There's no water on this brush, it's very dry. I'm just going to remove the brown that fell off there, so I'm just adding a bit of black to fix that. Okay, so now our painting looks finished. So I'm just going to take the tape off and let's see how it looks. So I'm taking the tape off. And here we have our painting. So this is a very simple, basic acrylic paint that a beginner can try out, and I hope you all try this at home. See you next time. Bye.